Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I've got my dear sister, Amanda, officially 30. Hey, happy birthday, Amanda.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you. Me and you have been trying to do this video for so long. Fingers crossed this
Yeah,
time it's going to work out. So today,
yeah,
my sister and I are going to be talking about motherhood. We were raised in a Christian home because we're in the same home. And we are hoping that just sharing a few lessons that our parents taught us will be able to encourage you guys to do the same for your children. There's a verse in the Bible that says, train up your child in the way that they should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. And we're living in a world where so many things are happening around us. Some parents have given up on actually raising their children the Christian way. So, Amanda, welcome.
thank you, Anna. It's
How
nice
are
to
you
be here.
doing?
I'm good. I'm 30 and thriving.
Yay! Have you even sunk into your 30?
No, not yet.
And do you know why I'm really enjoying this? Because now we can all say we're in the 30s. Because everyone will be like, oh, your sister's so young. And I'm like, no, not anymore.
Selfish reasons. Selfish reasons, Anna.
I'm just joking, Amanda, but I'm so happy for you. Anyway, so let's get into the video and talk about that. What are some of the lessons that mom and dad taught us that we're grateful for, that we've actually applied for our children? Maybe some things we didn't appreciate growing up. I know me and you were totally different because you were way better than I, but let's talk about some of the lessons you learned that you are now applying.
Okay, I'm still laughing at the you and I were very different because we were like two opposites. But then there are quite a lot of lessons to pick from how Mama and Daddy raised us, which would be very applicable now. So I'm just trying to think of something. I think the first one I could pick is prayer, because
Mhm.
probably it's one of the most important lessons that they ever taught us. It didn't really make sense then. I remember during our worship time, our evening worship time, everyone had a turn to pray. And we would pray from the youngest to the oldest, which meant
Oldest.
always pray first. And no matter how silly your prayer was, or how funny it was, everyone had to get a turn to pray. What they were teaching us then, that we may not necessarily have understood at that point, was the importance of everybody having their own personal prayer life. And it's something that I'm still trying to teach my children. They're still pretty young, and it may take time for them to get it, but like what I'm saying, when we were doing it, we didn't get it, but we get it now. I remember the other day I said something to my daughter. She was about to start school a couple of months back. She's about to start school, and she's a very shy-ish kind of girl when she gets in. So when she's with us, she's really out and bubbly, but when she goes to people, she's shy, she's withdrawn, she's scared, she's timid. And I remember saying to her the night before she was going to school, I'm like, Alina, when you're going to school tomorrow, if ever you feel scared or if you feel that something is wrong, I want you to just say a little prayer and say, dear God, please help me to be brave. Now, in
Wow.
that moment, I didn't think she was hearing me. So we said the little prayer together. I'm like, do you understand? And she's like, yes. I will say, dear God, please help me to be brave. She didn't say anything the following day when she went to school. Like, school seemed to be going really, really well. So every day there was this little boy. Every time I would be picking up my daughter, he would be crying. In the morning, when we would be dropping off, he would be crying. So I remember asking
Wow.
her, why is he crying? And then she would say he doesn't want to go home when it's time to go home. And then when it's time to come to school, he doesn't want to come to school. So I said, so what did you do? What did you say sorry to him? And then she's like, no, I told him that he should say a little prayer and say, God, please help me to
Oh,
pray. Right? Because the seed,
wow.
yeah. So I didn't think that she was hearing me when I was saying it. but she was.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's one of the things that I know that our parents taught us. Always pray about everything. It sounded really silly, but when you actually think about it, I'm also really glad that we got an a Christian education. Maybe let me put it that way. Got a Christian education. I remember the schools that we went to. Anna, we prayed the whole day from the moment we got to school until we went home. After every single lesson, before the next lesson started, we had to say a prayer. But what they were teaching us then was pray, dedicate everything to God. Don't just do stuff, dedicating it. And as silly as it may sound, I remember we had a child who transferred from our high school who said that there's way too much praying here. I can't take it. We pray about everything. But when I thought about it when I was older now, when I finally went to tertiary school, there was no praying whatsoever. Like, there was no praying. We were not religion based. Each person stuck to their own religion. But because of the upbringing, because of the socialization that you pray before everything, it stuck with me even up to today. When you have an idea and you want to do something, the first thing I think of is, Amanda, pray about it. Then you say, God, if you want this to happen, you have to help me to make it happen because I can't do it on my own. So the most important lesson that they taught us is prayer. Should I go on, or you want to come in and say something for yourself?
I think that is so true, that they taught us how to pray. And I wanted to say they also made it relatable. Mommy would come with little testimonies about bills, I won't forget the pizza testimony. I don't know if you were there or maybe you were at school, where she was saying she wanted pizza and bills were tight and everything, and she prayed about it during her lunch break, and she went to take a walk, and when she came back she found pizza on her table. She didn't know who bought
pizza.
Yes, she didn't know who bought it, but it was amazing. So for me, I always thought if you tell your prayer request to Mama, it's gonna get answered. And you had the funniest prayers. Oh my word! Like every little thing, like even like a pimple, you'd pray about it. But it showed that you understood who God was and that he was going to help you throughout every situation. And I wanted to say another lesson that we were taught was to love ourselves the way we are. Daddy used to tell us, I love you every single time. I hope you know you're beautiful. And I think for us, it helped us to not look for that validation in men.
Anywhere else.
Yes. After a phone call with Daddy, if he doesn't say, I love you, I don't know if he did that to you, but he would say before he cuts, if he actually cuts and he doesn't say it, he would call back and he'd be like, Mommy, I love you.
I forgot to tell you.
Yes, I forgot to tell you I love you. And at that time, I don't think we really appreciated it. We're just like, oh, Daddy's so sentimental. But it helped us to feel loved. He took us places. He took us out to make sure that we were not going to be, to fall for those going out. When you start going out, when the guy will say, hey, let me take you to this fancy place. He took that upon himself to do that for us. He made sure that he didn't love us based on how much we passed in school, and he loved us differently. I know you were good at academics and I was average, but no matter what I brought home, as long as I did my best, he'd celebrate all of us. You know what I mean? And I think even now that I've become a coach and I took a whole different path from everyone, he still says to me, Mommy, I'm so proud of you for doing what you love. Yes. Like Daddy is just always a cheerleader. So I think it also helped us to know whichever route we took, whoever we were, Daddy was always there to celebrate us and remind us we were special. So that validation, we never really looked at it from other people, like to say our parents didn't tell us they loved us. Any other lesson for you from Mommy or Daddy?
I think one of the biggest lessons that they also taught us is honesty. You are not allowed to lie. Like, thou shalt not lie. if there is one commandment in this house, it is thou shalt not lie.
Not lie.
You had to be honest even over the smallest thing. And
Yeah.
I know I used to do something that is so funny. I laugh at myself up to now. If I was sent to buy something and there was change, and the change was enough for me to buy whatever I wanted, I wouldn't buy it. I would go home first, give back whatever I was given.
Wow.
Bread or whatever, and say, Mama, or did you send me with $10 to buy bread? The change is $7. But I saw these chips that I wanted. Can I please have $2 to go back? Even if it's just 50 cents. And I remember Mama would always say, why didn't you just buy it? Then I'd say, because it's my money. And I didn't ask you first. So I would go back. And you know what? The good thing is, when you're honest, you always get more than what you've asked for. Because then instead of just giving me 50 cents, if that's what I wanted, she could say, you can keep the whole of the change. So I had more money than what I had asked for because I had been honest. Unlike if I hadn't, I remember one particular situation. It was after school and I was at Mama's workplace and she sent me to get her something. I went there and then I got there. And then I just wanted a packet of chips, things. And I wanted a tub of ice cream. That was very, very cheap. It was really insignificant to the change that I had remained with. I ran to Mama's office and then I gave her what she wanted by the window. And then I said, Mama, ndokumbro Maria kutenga my chips and ice cream. Like, can I please have some money to buy chips and ice cream? And she's like, but you're coming from the shops. Why didn't you just buy it? I'm like, because I didn't ask. So I've come back to ask if I can do that. And I've applied that lesson till this very day. Like, I know that even if it's probably my husband gives me money to do something, even if the change is $10, even if I want it, I know now I apply it completely differently, but I'll give it back first. And then as I'm giving it back, then I'll say, but can I keep it? Yeah.
Wow.
But can I keep it? Or something like that. Because they've always taught us contentment. What's not yours is not yours. What's yours is. And I remember, if ever you would come home with something that's not yours, girl, take it back. First thing tomorrow, did you ask for it? No. So gave it to me. What did their parents say? They didn't tell us that they give it to me. You know, so they definitely taught us honesty. They taught us contentment. And as much as maybe we didn't realize it, now as we are grown, you do realize it. There's always someone who's going to be better than me, someone who's going to be better than you. That doesn't mean that I'm not enough or that you're not enough. It just means that that's them and that's me. And I'm content in the lane that I am in because this is where I belong right now. If ever God should decide to take me out of this lane and put me in the same lane as that other person, that's a plus, that's a bonus for me. But whilst I'm still in my lane, God says, thou shalt not envy. It's not my job to say, why them and not me? And that's something that parents taught us. What's yours is yours. Be okay with it. Even if it's not what you want in that moment, it's okay. That's where you belong right now.
Wow. Yeah, that is so well said. And I just thought of something when you talked about not bringing people things, to say they actually knew all our clothes. They could tell if something was not ours. But I also liked another thing that they taught us, which was to play together. You know, we were not allowed to be with friends for too long, and they made sure they knew our friends' parents first. You know what I mean? And I think it also helped us to know that in life, it's not about friends. Sometimes you won't even have a friend, and that's okay. But they told us the first friends you make are your siblings. You have to play with your siblings. And that caused us to just play together. You know what I mean? And after school, we couldn't get out of the gate, you know? So it just forced us to be each other's best friends. And I think when we were growing up, we didn't appreciate it. But now that we are older, I think we've gotten to a point where, like, me and you can talk every single day. We now have a lot in common, unlike when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And it just helps us to see that. And now when we talk to Mama and Daddy, they always say, it's because they also didn't want us to be influenced by the people around us, because not everyone has Christian principles. And it was us then falling for everything that they were doing. They did allow us to play with friends, but after they knew their parents. So it really helped. And I wanted to say, maybe we can talk about the last one and probably do a part 2 sometime. But I wanted us to talk about the role our parents played by just serving God. You are now speaking. I like speaking. You are a singer. You know, I on the singing part, it has jumped me. At some point I had the voice, but it's gone, you know, but we never thought would be serving. You know what I mean? I know personally, I don't know about you, but everything they were doing, they helped to start a church. They would always bring people home and tell us we always had to share. It's not about what you have. You can give from the little that you have. And I remember once asking Mama to say, why are you still working for the church, even though you don't get much money? And she was like, Anna, it's never about the money. It's the difference that you're making for someone else. And I think that has helped me not to be materialistic, to say, as long as I've made a difference in someone's life, that's the best feeling ever. I don't know for you if you can share anything along those lines when it comes to serving and what he saw Mama and Daddy doing, like when they would bring people and pay people's fees and all that.
Oh, look, one thing I will say is we never knew that they were paying anyone's fees until we grew up and we started meeting people who would then say, you don't know what your parents did for me. And you're like, what did they do? Like, what do they do? And then, you know, you see where I am now. I went to school. Your parents paid for me. And when you'd ask them, did you? Mama, I met so and so, and they said this and this and that. Then they say, oh yeah, we decided to do this, whatever. And that's where we miss it as people, because we want the whole world to know the kind deeds that we've done. So much that we're not doing it. We're not doing it for the person. We're doing it for our own glory.
Yeah.
You meet someone who will say, you see Amanda where she is today. If it was not for me, she shouldn't have been there. But it loses the essence of why you did it. Learn to do it in silence. It actually pays more in silence, because they say whatever you reap, that you shall sow. Mama and Daddy did not see it when they were doing it. We see it. We are their children. We're now sowing the seed that they planted. We meet several people who are unnecessarily kind to us, not because we did anything to them, but because of what our parents did. And if there's something that I learned from that, to learn to be silent about what you've done. It's nobody else's business. It's between you and that person, and get it done and keep it to yourselves. Number one. Number two, the other thing I learned from them serving in church and from serving God is that God first. Put God before everything and watch how your life falls into place. Unfortunately, we always think that our life falling into place means that you've got enough money to do anything that you want. But let's count some of the blessings that we have that are beyond money. We've got good health. Some people have spent 2 years without stepping into a hospital. Some people have spent 3-4 years without sleeping on an empty stomach, even though none of them have jobs. You know, it's the beauty of the small things. Not everything is about how much money is in your bank account, or how many clothes are in your closet, or the fancy cars that you drive, because all those things are vanity. But what actually stays, or what actually matters, is the difference that we make in people's lives and the ability to live from one day to the next. Just the mere thought that we can go from point A to point B and come back without being in an accident, without any kind of injury, without anybody being sick, without anyone dropping dead. Like, that's just a blessing in itself. But you know why we don't see it? Because we are looking at the next person's blessing and we want their blessing to be my blessing. But that's not how God works. I need this particular blessing to teach me what it needs to teach me. You need what you have to teach you what you have to learn. So they taught me that God comes first in everything. Put God first. When God has blessed you, with resources, whether it's financially or it's houses or it's clothes. There's a quotation that says we are blessed so that we can bless others.
Yeah.
If I have 10 of the same thing in my closet, if I have 10 of it, it means the other 9 are not for me. They're for 9 other people who need them, you know? So God blesses us in different ways so that we can pass it on to the next person. So if there's anything, you know what, one of the biggest lessons that I learned on my birthday was that it pays to be kind, Anna. The number of people who reminded me of the difference that I've made to them by just a smile sometimes, or by listening to them and not passing it on to the next ear. You know, it's a small...
Just reminded me of something, Kuti. That was a no-go area with us. Gossip. If you came home talking about someone. And I remember
what Mama would say. Remember what Mama would say. You know, there are these fancy jokes that we post on WhatsApp about particular people, you know, and then we would want to share them and laugh. And then she'd say, God doesn't like it when you laugh at other people. I would say, Mama is such a party pooper. Like, Mama, honestly, it's just a joke. And she's like, no. That's how you learn to laugh. Is, you know, you cannot rejoice in something that drags someone else down. We're not allowed to say, I heard this story that so and so did this, and we were automatically taught to keep quiet. Daddy would always say, do you have facts?
Yes.
And then, Mom, you know, another thing that we never understood, we always used to say, Mama, you don't really have friends. Like, you always change friends. And it's not like she didn't have friends. She had friends, but she had compartmentalized them, number one. Number two, she knew that sometimes when you are around the wrong people, you can also get some of their habits. If you hang around a lot with negative people who are always picking the bad things, you easily find yourself always picking the bad and everything that's good. You always find yourself looking for the black dot on a white piece of paper. And they also taught us, do not say what you don't have evidence for, number one. Number two, if someone has trusted you enough, listen, this one you need to listen. If someone has trusted you enough to confide in you, that was a very vulnerable moment for them. For you to now trust yourself enough to pass on that confidence to another is rude. It's bad. It's unnecessary, and it's demeaning. And that I know that there are times that we all fall in that area. Like, sometimes it's just it's itching. But then, you know, if there's something that we must always remember that our parents taught us, it's don't be in the habit of being a source of information. You know, like I heard it from Anna, or I heard it from Amanda. Run away from having your name as a source in a store. Run away. Mama always says, run away from it like it's leprosy. So those are some lessons.
That is so good. That is so good. And I just wanted to end by saying it was also learning that they didn't give because they had it all. They just gave what they had. I know we grew up in a small house growing up, but we didn't even see it until we grew up. How did we fit in this house? You know, this yard looks so big, you know, and they used to live within their means to say, what matters is we have each other. Friday nights would be outside singing songs, me, you, Brian, and James, you know, and it was beautiful. Those were the memories, you know, and what it has taught me is happiness is not based on money. It's based on just spending time with the people that you love. Yes, being together in that small house, it was enough. You know, when they decided we're going to sacrifice this money for someone's fees or for some bill, it was still enough. And it has taught me the lesson I always say, that God doesn't need us to take care of us. You know, when you give, no one has ever gone hungry from giving. You know, so that should be a challenge to all of us. When God blesses you with something, don't hold on to it. Mama always gave the scenario in one of her sermons to say that If you are always holding on to something, how is God going to bless you? But if you give what's in your hands are empty. So God is going to give you more, you know. So if you're always holding on to the little that you have, it's not going to add. But when you give it away, your hands are empty and it's going to give you a whole lot more. And I think that's a concept that we've all learned. Thank you so much, Amanda. I think we can go on and on about this, but I was hoping by us sharing this, other people will be encouraged that not every child will notice what you're teaching them as they're growing up, but don't stop being the great parent that you are. Don't stop instilling that wisdom in them that is based on Bible principles. Amanda was an amazing child growing up. I was the opposite. But now that we are older, we are both applying the same principles. So children are different, but they all learn from us. And with God's help and the Holy Spirit, there is nothing we cannot do, because with divine power, the Holy Spirit speaks to your child. So don't ever give up on working on that. Amanda, do you have any final words?
No, you should never speak after older people. I've got nothing to say.
Are you respecting me? I've got this on camera. Let me enjoy the moment. Thank you so much, Amanda. This was really good. And I hope we can do more videos together, because it'd be nice to hear some of the things we've both learned in our years of growing up in the 30s now. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone, for watching our video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.